Evangelicalism was my life. I was a Christian. It was my entire identity. It was my entire life. It was my purpose. It was everything to me. And I thought that when I left the community and separated myself from the sexual shaming that I had experienced, that I would now suddenly be free, that I would no longer struggle with sexual shame and fear and anxiety. And much to the contrary, what actually happened is that those things did not go away.
Ingersoll is a professor at the University of North Florida. She studies the issues that give rise to an ex-vangelical subculture.
All they share is that they have a criticism of this movement that they understand as evangelicalism. So they've left over lots of different kinds of reasons, but many of those reasons come down to issues associated with gender and sexuality. Concerns over women's equality, but also concerns over LGBT rights.
What they are saying matters, especially at this critical point in our nation's history.
This conservative Protestantism that we're calling evangelicalism is on the political ascendancy right now. These conservative Protestants are in lots of power. And there are strains of the version of evangelicalism to which they adhere that are problematic for democracy. And these ex-evangelicals are calling our attention to those dimensions. They're pointing us to the authoritarian threads in this tradition. They're pointing us to the ways in which this tradition has privileged whiteness. They're calling our attention to the way in which this tradition privileges masculinity over femininity. And I think that's important for us to recognize.
Thank you. It's good to be among people who value and understand what we do. I got into journalism because I wanted to tell stories and speak the truth. All these years later, I sometimes take these things for granted. So tonight, I want to say that now, more than ever, there's a great power in telling the truth and telling stories. But I'd also add that it's in the exchange of our stories between us, you and I, that we can create a pathway to healing. Deconstructing My Religion contains this very revelation. It's about people who grew up in conservative evangelical homes and experienced a crisis of faith in their youth. Many made the difficult choice to leave their insular faith community and are now at different stages of deconstruction, a painful process which involves taking apart one worldview and replacing it with one that is more in sync with who they are today. At the heart of this movement is how people find a way to heal themselves in order to make them feel more whole. Part of that happens through the exchange of these stories. So I want to thank Blake Chastain, who is in the piece and is here with us tonight. He popularized the term ex-vangelical and has a podcast by the same name. Thank you for trusting us to tell your story. To Christopher Stroop, Linda Kay Klein, Emily Joy, and all the others in the documentary, thank you for your courage and intellectual honesty. Also here tonight is Dr. Julie Ingersoll, who you saw in the piece. She's a religious studies scholar at the University of North Florida. It's because of her public-facing scholarship on what it means to grow up within a conservative evangelical subculture that I stand before you today. So thank you for sharing your hard-earned wisdom. On behalf of my team, our editor Elise Kaftan, associate producer UT Joshi, and myself, thank you so much. We really appreciate your support.